So about 9 days ago, I asked you guys to ask me some questions about the Packers, and I've gotten to maybe one of them so far, but I want to get to another one right now. This is from at GoPackGo Cheesehead for Life 57. Love the username. And they say, are you confident in Love progressing this year, barring any injuries? So I think for Jordan Love, the injuries were definitely a problem when you have an MCL injury and then a groin injury. Just having those lower body injuries greatly affects what you can do as a quarterback just because of how important footwork is, and that's something that it sounded like Jordan Love was having to battle through. He was playing through injuries. He brought that up, and it's hard to know how much that affected him, but especially some of those first few games right after he got injured, he was definitely dealing with some pain, and you could tell in some of those first few games after the injury that he was not 100%. And so I think to be able to have Jordan Love coming in healthy and hopefully staying healthy all season, that's going to be something that that could really change things a lot. And even with those injuries, Jordan Love was still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when it came to evading pressure. There's just one stat that is pretty interesting. I was doing some research on Caleb Williams the other day, and as I was doing that research, I came across this. So if you look at this analytic called pressure sack percentage, this is from Fantasy Points data. It's defined as a percentage of pressured dropbacks that result in a sack. So how good is a quarterback at not allowing a pressure to turn into a sack? Josh Allen was first in the NFL at 8%, and Jordan Love was second in the NFL at 9.7%. And that's with him having to play through these, lower body injuries. And so just imagine what he's going to do next year if he stays healthy, which I hope he does. Hopefully he will. Um, he's just going to be able to that much more evade pressure because I think later on he was getting a little healthier, but for some of those games he just didn't have that ability to break away from the pocket that he had last year. And so I think just off that fact, with him staying healthy, he's going to progress in year 3 as the Packers starting quarterback. And there's a few other reasons I also think that he could really take a jump this year. I mean, he struggled with consistency. That's been part of his problem the past couple seasons where he'll go through really, really good stretches, just like he did to end last year going into the playoffs, where he went a lot of games, not throwing an interception. And then unfortunately, in the biggest game of the year against the Eagles, he throws 3 picks. And so it's just tough in those situations. You can't have him throwing 3 interceptions. But a few other reasons I think that it's going to lead to Jordan Love having a better year. Better offensive line. Josh Myers is gone. Elgton Jenkins should be center if the contract situation is worked out there, which I expect it to be. With Aaron Banks there, Elgton Jenkins at center, the interior of the offensive line will be better. And so I think that this Packers offensive line, just because you're moving from Josh Myers, where at times I think that was a weakness for the Packers O line, and putting Elgton Jenkins there, I think it strengthens the unit having Jenkins and Banks versus Josh Myers and Elgton Jenkins. And when we look at the Packers pass blocking last year, 7th in ESPN pass block win rate, 10th in pressure percentage allowed, so pretty good. But I think there was room for improvement. And there were some games where, Jordan Love was getting pressured pretty quick, and because he's so good at evading pressure, he's able to escape from some of those, misses by the offensive line. But I really do think that this O line should be even better than last year, and they were pretty solid last year. And then adding Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, when you add a first round receiver, third round receiver, your receiver room is going to be better. So that's basically my point. Matthew Golden, incredibly talented. I'm excited to see how he fits here. And the other point was just, as I already touched on, Jordan Love, staying healthy. And the Packers overall were a very, very good offense last year. Top 10, 8th in points per game, 5th in yards per game. It was just a lack of consistency against some of the best teams, a ton of NFC North teams, where hopefully that's something that will change in 2025 because, it can get a little tiring losing to the Vikings and losing to the Lions. And hopefully that's not something we see heading into next year. But I think that everything that's happened so far this offseason should lead to the Packers improving, and I think that Jordan Love will have a better year. And it's not like he had a bad year. He was 12th in passer rating. He did struggle when it came to accuracy, which has been a problem of his. He was 25th in completion percentage over expected. But all in all, I talked about it right when the season ended. about where I basically think he's a top 10 to 12 quarterback right now, but I do think he has the potential to be a top 3, top 5 quarterback. We've seen him do it when he plays his best football. The question is, can he do it consistently? And so that's something that we will continue to watch heading into 2025 this next season. But if you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.